Israel says that it did give the U.S. a heads up. It's an Israeli official talking to CNN. We have not gotten any confirmation or any word from the White House on that. Of course, we hope to hear from the White House soon. But Cardinal Leighton, how is Qatar likely to respond to this strike?
Yeah, Pamela, I think they have several choices. One, is probably the most likely, and that is that they will, like they already have, they'll condemn it very strongly. And as Ambassador McGurk was talking about, they are probably going to go into some other kind of response mechanism. It's not like Qatar is going to send airplanes against Israel, but what they will do is they will probably slow roll some economic initiatives that have been in the works between them and the Israelis. They will also probably, on the diplomatic front, make sure that everything associated with things like the Abraham Accords, that either dies a death or that it is put on the back burner. And that's one of the key elements here. The other thing I think, Pamela, that we'll need to look out for is other kinds of reactions, not only from the government of Qatar, but also people in the region. And that's going to, I think, really potentially inflame a lot of the Middle East, the so-called Arab Street. That's going to be, I think, a major factor going forward as this attack, is analyzed and dissected.
Marissa, just talk about the significance of what's going on right now.
I mean, this is a seismic event. It's not often you read something cross the wires that makes your jaw drop, but this was certainly fall into that category. And I think what will be crucial in the coming hours is trying to ascertain Israel's claim that the U.S. was aware of this strike. How aware of the strike were they? Did they effectively condone it? And if so, what could the possible impact of that tacit acceptance of this strike be in terms of the relationship between Qatar and the U.S.? And as Kevin was just articulating, and as you and Wolf have been discussing, this is a crucial relationship for the U.S. Qatar is host to the largest U.S. base in the entire Middle East. This is a close relationship that has lasted over many different administrations. And Qatar has effectively cultivated a unique space for itself in terms of being a neutral space where these talks and negotiations between various non-state actors and states and terrorist groups can happen in a safe and sensible manner. This is not the first time, by the way. We're looking very much now at the talks between Hamas and the U.S. and Egypt and Qatar and Israel. But of course, Qatar was also host to the Taliban and was a crucial part of the U.S. navigating its withdrawal from Afghanistan and essentially forming some kind of a dialogue between the U.S. and the Taliban that without an interlocutor like Qatar would be effectively impossible. And I think the question now becomes, beyond the sort of U.S. Qatar of it, what does this mean for these negotiations at such a crucial point in this conflict? Do they effectively end for the moment? Do they move to a different location? Do we see Qatar try to launch some kind of a retaliation? I'm not even talking about a military retaliation, but some kind of a very strong diplomatic retaliation at Israel. What does that look like? And does it effectively torpedo these efforts, which had been ostensibly, according to multiple sources, gathering some momentum recently to try to push towards some kind of, if not a permanent end, at least a temporary stop to the fighting in Gaza?
Right, we're getting breaking news now from Qatar. Smoke has been seen rising over the Qatar district in the capital of Doha. I'm joined now by Paula Hancock's here with me in Abu Dhabi, and we have just had a statement from Majid al-Ansari, who is the spokesperson for the Prime Minister and the Foreign Ministry. What is he saying?
So this is the first response from Qatar. They have called this attack cowardly. They have called it a criminal assault. And he has said that Israel targeted residential buildings housing several members of the Hamas political bureau. Now, we have a source telling us this was an aerial attack. And we have heard from Ansari as well saying that this is a blatant violation of international laws and norms. That's a direct quote. They do strongly condemn this attack. And they say that the state of Qatar emphasises that it will not tolerate this reckless and irresponsible Israeli behaviour. So this is the first response that we have heard from Qatar. And interestingly, the spokesperson saying that it was residential buildings that were targeted. Now, they say they were housing members of Hamas. It's unclear at this point if anyone else would have been in those residential buildings. Clearly, there was no warning that this was coming, so that will certainly be a question that we will need answering soon. But the fact is, this shows it was a residential area that has been targeted.
Right, let's get you some breaking news just into CNN. Jeremy Diamond standing by in Jerusalem. Jeremy.
Well, Becky, as we have been watching video of an explosion over the skies of Doha, a plume of smoke emerging over the Qatari capital, we are now getting a statement from the Israeli military saying that the Israeli military and the Israeli security agency, meaning the Shin Bet, Israel's internal security service, has, quote, conducted a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. They say that for years, these members of Hamas leadership have led Hamas's operations and are directly responsible for the October 7th massacre. They say that prior to the strike, measures were taken to mitigate harm to civilians, and they insist that there was the use of, quote, precise munitions and additional intelligence. That is just coming in right now. Notably, that statement does not specifically say that this strike was conducted in Doha, but of course we know that Hamas's primary leadership has indeed been based in the Qatari capital. It is also where Hamas's primary negotiators over these ceasefire talks, they are also based in Doha in the Qatari capital, namely Khalil al-Hayya, who has been leading the Hamas organization for some time now and who has been throughout this entire nearly 2 years of war the primary negotiator with Israel over any ceasefire and hostage release negotiation. And so if indeed this is confirmed to be an Israeli strike targeting Hamas's leadership in Doha, the implications of that are just an absolute earthquake, Becky. I don't have to tell you, who knows that region so well, the implications that that will have vis-a-vis the Qatari government and perhaps other Gulf state governments as well.